is your perspective on Joint Commissions coming back, and people have been struggling with them coming back and they weren't ready?
Okay. So, my perspective is that sterile processing departments closed, open, no cases, two cases. Our process should have never changed. You still had the patient as your primary customer, whether you had one patient or 52 patients. So, Joint Commission saying we're now going to come back and start surveying you should not have impacted anybody in the sterile processing field, mainly because out of every area in the hospital, the one area whose practice and process did not change is sterile processing. We have been eradicating items of bacteria, viruses, blood, body fluids, cement, bioburden, biofilm every day. COVID came to town. That's an added bacteria or virus. Our job is to eradicate by any means necessary according to the IFU. So
Yes.
the fact that we stopped doing 50 cases and went to 2 should have never changed your practice. Your practice was always to clean your department every day. Your practice was always to clean your workstation before every shift. Your practice always was to wash your hands. So your practice was always to put on all your PPE before you clean something. So COVID did not change that. The Joint Commission saying we're going to take a break and not come to the hospital did not change that. And if somebody in an SPD said, well, we weren't ready because we took a break, they did a disservice to the profession.
I agree. And we said that in episode 1 a little bit. You know, what this article we referenced from the Joint Commission and the CDC document that went out and said that they're going to come back. And one of the Joint Commission, we referenced Mr. Robert Campbell, the Director of Clinical Standards Interpretation for Hospital Ambulatory Program.
Okay.
So that is his role. And what he says in his article we referenced last week was that they're coming back, they're looking at ITMs, inspection, testing, and maintenance. And I think that still best practice for the care of the patient. And so best practice or recommendations from AORN, standards from AAMI still apply. They've always applied. So if the controversy I see is, how can they come back? We were doing things wrong. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, was they're really at a technician level, we have been doing wrong things, reusing PPEs and different things while COVID initiated. And how come, their question, right? This is the debate. How come we can have to go back to standards for Joint Commission and all these high recommendations and standards when we were doing the wrong thing for a certain period of time before ASP got their IFU?
So my question is, when did you do the wrong thing before ASP got their IFU? What covered you was the EUA. And if you read the EUA from the front to the back, which is what you should have done before you started anything, and you read when I got my EUA and it said you can process N95 respirator mask in a STERRAD machine, I got the STERRAD paperwork with the IFU at the same time. So I never did anything wrong. I followed the directions of ASP, who was covered under the Emergency User Act, and I did my mask. So there was never a wrong. What was considered wrong is that the N95 respirator mask is a single-use item. And according to the law, we are not supposed to reprocess single-use items unless we are a manufacturer or we have determined that we're going to take the role of a manufacturer by being able to say we have validated our process, we have enough insurance to cover us should somebody get sick or ill. The EUA covers you for that. And it only covers you to do one thing. It didn't cover you to do
Right.
no
That's right.
gowns, no shoes, no hats. It covered you for a respirator mask. So if we are saying that in the profession we follow recommended practice, then you know that when you read that EUA and the IFU from ASP, if you followed ASP, you were covered. Now, what I did, because I didn't always understand the ASP IFU for some things, because they had a big word in there called aerate, and we don't aerate routinely in STERRAD. I called ASP and said, give me clear understanding what it is I'm supposed to do. I don't want to harm anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to harm my peers. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be sure that whatever I'm doing is correct. I was also concerned about chain of custody, which the EUA
That's right.
talks about, chain of custody. So if you followed the EUA and the IFU, I don't understand how you were doing something wrong. Now, what I can say, Angela, is that I went in after I did this and posted on LinkedIn pictures,
I saw
step
that.
by step, which follows the IFU covered under the EUA. What I did say was, I may have got something wrong. If you read it and you found that I've gotten something wrong, please let us know, because we need some guidance, because I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. If I took the time to put the pictures out there that said, put on the PPE, make sure you have chain of custody, make sure this and that, and all you need to say was, Sharon, you need to write with a marker, you should have said, make sure you got a permanent marker. But I put it out there so people had some kind of a guidance, because when I started, I didn't have any really.
Right.
My ASP person said, yeah, you can do this and you can do that. But do I think I did anything wrong? No, I don't. I
I think we
stand
were
on
all
my
trying,
process.
I think we were all in your shoes and trying to figure it out. They were trying to figure it out. The CDC, everybody was in the same boat, right? We're trying to figure it
Right.
out as we began. And so it was a learning curve a little bit. But the argument for that I see on social media, how can they come back? What's their expectations? I think that it was really a time, if you did have the cases down, and you got to the 2 or whatever cases,
Mm-hmm.
and minimal staff, a lot of people got furloughed or let go or
Mm-hmm.
sent home, but you had some there, and you
Right.
still had an infection preventionist, although they were very, very busy trying to figure out the COVID
Right.
issues. But we had some people in SPD that, if you didn't have your policies, if you didn't have best practice, if you didn't have the standard of care that you should have been doing all this time because you've been too busy or for
Mm-hmm.
other reasons, this was a great time to get it together and get a really good foundation going.
You are absolutely right. I will tell you, the first week we shut down, everybody was looking crazy. What do you
Mm-hmm.
mean we don't have no cases?
Mm-hmm.
And we were at work. We didn't nobody sent everybody home the first week. We stood around and looked at each other. I came in and said, good morning. We're going to start with cart 1. We're going to tear everything down on that cart. We're going to wash the cart, dry the cart. We're going to rerun every tray. Now you say, Sharon, why? Because I use Halyard wrap, and because Halyard has a 2-year, if you want to read the fine print, I said, we're going to take this time to bring all of our trays up to 2020. So should anybody drop by and say, how long has your tray been wrapped? We said it has not been 2 years. We did every cart in our department
That's
for the month
awesome.
of March.
That's awesome.
Then we opened up trays with missing stickers. We said, why is the spoon missing? We wrote down things and we said, we need to order some spoons, because when we get back to work, this tray should not be missing the spoon. We didn't do nothing for 5 months. We should have been able to get a spoon in the tray. I went over employees who needed to do competencies.
Yes.
Let us get
Awesome.
competent.
So good.
But my process on a daily basis did not change. 1 person, 2 people, 3. We came in every morning. We washed down our area. We washed our light fixtures. We washed our walls, our light switches. We washed our hands all day long. We did all of that every day. And then we, instead of doing trays from cases, we did trays off the shelf. The Joint Commission stopping did not stop our process. And I don't care
That's
how we
awesome.
want to dialogue it, you should have never stopped doing what was right. It's
I
like
agree.
the highways were empty. We could do 100, a man got a ticket, he was doing 120 miles. They said just because the highway empty doesn't mean you can do 120 miles. The speed limit is 65. They took him to jail. So the bottom line is, we couldn't say, well, there's no cases, we're going to sit back, do nothing, and dump our brain. That's not what professionals do. Professionals stay professional, because be it one patient or 50, each patient deserves our best each time.
Absolutely. I
We
agree.
cannot afford to contribute to anybody's infection rate for any reason. A patient doesn't want to hear where COVID came and we were just doing something and we didn't know, and that's why your tray was contaminated. They don't want to hear that. And so I don't understand. I don't, I just do not understand how you can say, well, when they didn't give us time to get ready, why weren't you ready before COVID?
Right.
COVID didn't send us a letter and say, I'm
Yeah.
coming.
I agree. I agree with that. I think there, and last week we said there's just a lot of fear always, there's always fear about joint commissions coming anyway. The anxiety is a little higher and heightened a little bit now because we've been down, we're down people, and cases are coming back. I don't know if all the people are back yet in all the places. We're still down people, the volume's going up. So there's like issues, and I think the anxiety is a little heightened. So for or against Joint Commission coming back, personal opinions from a tech level all the way through a director level.
Mhm.
I think I agree absolutely with you. We should have been doing it way back when. We had downtime now to get it fixed if there was some issues and get up to par level or better. And I think so. What we want this debate to do is really just spur some comments. There's opinions in the field, technicians to director. We'd love to hear from everybody to get your feedback and your opinion, because it is a collective network profession that we learn from each other and always are in continual learning. So
I
that,
do.
yeah, so if
I
we're
believe
doing
that.
that, we really want the comments from either Sharon's perspective or the perspective of all the comments and anxiety I've read on social media.